chomping at the bit. No, that's not Linda. That's James Dixon.
Hey, your brother James.
And there comes Linda. We were just talking about you, Linda. I said you were chomping at the bit because you missed us on Tuesday. I'm glad you made it, young lady. Yeah, I was just sharing with Pastor Norman about how the YouTube, whatever reason, didn't connect with my platform, my StreamYard platform on Tuesday. And so not only Linda, but a lot of those that watch us on YouTube thought something was going on their end. And I did a little short video to let them know that it was not them. But anyway, we're good today. Welcome to Impromptu. Welcome to another session with Pastor Sawyer and myself and Pastor Norman.
Well, hello, everybody.
Yeah. So, I don't know what we're going to talk about today. Everything.
Everything and anything.
We could talk about the midterms and how it was not a landslide on the red side.
Yeah, and it's causing a little bit of upheaval.
Yeah, I know. But we were out just a minute ago, and we got this circle that you have to go through to get to the main street when you're leaving our neighborhood. And there was this guy just sitting in the circle when he could go. The sign was yield, and no traffic was blocking him to prevent him from going, but he just sat there. And we were talking about how that now it's like a lot of people are just, their emotions are right on the edge and they're acting out, and it's just really strange. It's a strange time we're living in. One that we've never witnessed it this bad.
I haven't either.
and I say that cautiously because there were days in our younger days when blacks really were being harassed openly. And we were restricted from going to the same bathrooms, using the same water fountains, all kinds of stuff like that. But now it's like the hate is just blatant. It's like, I'm going to show you that I don't like you. And I'm going to show you that I'm prejudiced. I'm going to show you. And it's just there. It's just there. And it's like and I won't say what, but there is one who gave everyone license to show that. And now it's running rampant. But anyway, on a positive note, there are more of us waking up. And I thought about what Dr. David Hawkins said before he passed. He had some great books, Power versus Force, Spiritual Discovery, and some others that I've kind of cut my teeth on. And I go back to, every now and then. But he said evolution, what it means to evolve, means you're no longer predatory. So that says that there's the nature in man before he awakens to see everything as on the level of survival. I've got to get it, and if you're in the way, then you're gonna get hurt while I get it. That kind of thinking. And he mentioned the fact of like the animals in like just take Africa for instance, the predators, the lions, what are you looking for?
The lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my!
Yeah, the lions, tigers, and bears. How they attack, but they attack for survival.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much what we humans do before we awaken. We attack for survival purposes and not realize that it is based only on our personal survival. And so evolving means coming to a place where you're not motivated simply for your own Are you okay over there?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you rattling so many papers. You okay?
Mhm.
He being studious.
Yeah, he's being studious.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
So it's, and I may not be using the right words, but mankind mankind must become kind man.
I love that.
And evolution is for mankind to become kind man, and that's we're beginning to see some of the evidence of that. It's not as prevalent as we would like, but it is coming through, and I think that's why in this, I'm gonna move some of my banners here. That's why I think in this midterm election there were a lot of younger people who have witnessed shootings and all of those kinds of things that where man was not kind, and they're wanting certain laws changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're, because they became a voting age, they now have taken over some of the values, or I won't say taken over. They are putting forth their values
Mm-hmm.
based on what they have experienced in life. And so now I think that both political parties are going to have to make changes,
Mm-hmm.
because as these young people are come of age to vote, they're not going to they're not going to, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not going to settle for some of the things that others have settled for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it is causing an atmosphere change.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this too. We When we go out in the afternoon now, if it's around lunchtime, the two of us, we don't really like being out at that time because it's so busy,
Mm-hmm.
especially right in the city. If you're out in the rural areas, it's not bad, but in the city, it's hectic. And
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying that he really doesn't like coming out. Because he doesn't like the changes that he feels in the air, in the
Exactly.
atmosphere. Yeah. So that's one of the things we were talking about just a little bit ago.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I think it has to do because you keep I'm using the word evolving, and we could also think in the process of us evolving, we're becoming more mature, more settled.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I know that there was one time in my life where I was always on the go. I had to be busy, but now I'm becoming comfortable with being still,
Hmm.
and I've discovered in the midst of being still that I have a greater level of peace, and I'm growing, I'm evolving.
Yeah.
When you was talking about mankind and you was giving a description, in this particular age, man has become very animalistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very animalistic. It's like we're regressing rather than progressing. And
Yes.
it goes back to once again what you just said, that we're not awakening to the reality of who we really are. And so
Hmm.
when you mentioned that, I thought about what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24, and I'll just read verse 10, but he was talking about these will all be the beginning of sorrows. And he said there will come a time where many will be offended,
Hmm.
they shall betray one another, and they shall hate one another. And
Hmm.
so it is like, because you don't, and I mean, this goes far beyond just racism. Like you said, y'all came up in a time where, you couldn't use the same bathroom as the other race, and you
Hmm.
couldn't sit in in the same day, and even ride on the bus in different ways and
We had
stuff.
a separate bus.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
we had a
And
separate bus, separate cabs.
right in the back.
We couldn't live in the
Seated
same
us.
neighborhoods. We couldn't go to the same schools. I remember, and this was really hard when I was going to high school. They mandated that the schools start to integrate, but a lot of our Caucasian brothers and sisters did not want their children going to a black school.
Hmm.
There was one little Caucasian boy, one little Caucasian boy that came into our black senior high school.
Hmm.
That poor kid had to fight almost every day.
Wow. Wow.
but it was because there was the separation was not just invisible, it was very visible and
Mhm.
prevalent. And but I thought about, you were talking about how the man is animalistic. If you look at your teeth, the two eye teeth, those are canine teeth,
Exactly. Exactly.
carnivorous teeth.
Mhm.
Carnivorous teeth, and that means we are carnivorous, meaning we are incarnated. We're in flesh. We like flesh. Flesh likes
Mhm.
flesh.
Cannibalistic.
Yeah, when I cannibalistic, yes.
Mhm.
But when I say that, I'm not talking about who we truly are. I'm speaking based on this animalistic body that we live in
Mhm.
and this human mind that thinks that way. Um, and so to find your way out of that maze of being
Mhm.
carnivorous and cannibalistic and predatory, uh, is 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 what evolution is all about. Finding your way out of being that way, and
Mhm.
you're in a society that is that way. So you find yourself going against the grain in a lot of areas, and
Mhm.
that makes you it tends to make you feel somewhat alienated
Mhm.
because you can see their madness.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
And you don't want to be part of it. You don't want to be part of it at
Right,
all.
right,
Mhm.
right. And then the urge to help them wake up comes about.
Mhm.
And how we do that in so many different ways, but to help people wake up, to keep saying to them who they truly are until they remember who they are.
And it's funny that you mentioned that even with the midterm election, I would actually have to say even the last election, and I would have to say when we entered into 2020, it definitely was the beginning of a whole different new decade of change. Literally, I mean, it hit us smack dead in our face, even with the pandemic, and so there was a great shift, and a lot of people did not know how to adjust and again adapt to what has happened. But when you were saying that, I'm thinking about how we are so divided, how we all separate, and there's such an increase of people being prejudiced of one another. And I'm not talking about skin color and race.
Right,
If
right.
I'm not part of the same party that you are, if I don't believe like you believe, if my views are maybe a little different, and because of that difference, you literally is now angry at me because I don't believe like you. I'm not from the same background as you. You're
Mhm.
literally angry and hating me because I am different.
So we're no longer celebrating our differences.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And that's what I shared the other night when I was ministering. We have to get to the place where we celebrate once again people being different. And I mentioned it last night in First Corinthians chapter 12, how there are diversities of gifts, there are difference of administrations,
mhm.
but when they are used, there everyone is supposed to profit, everyone connected, everyone in that community is supposed to be able to benefit from you being different and the utilization of your
Yeah,
gift.
yeah. So
Yeah.
when our eyes come open, when our hearts come open, when our minds open, uh, we would celebrate the man who works at McDonald's just as much as we would the man who became president, because we wouldn't see that as a condescending profession or job. We should celebrate everything and realize that no matter what you're doing, it the purpose is for you to be placed in that arena for your light to really shine and bring light into places that are dark. And
Mhm.
so I remember there was one, I can't remember who I heard saying this, but they had encountered a young man who worked in the grocery store, and all he did was bag groceries, put stock on the shelf, and bring in carts that were left in the parking lot. But this young man was so awake that every time people came into his presence, they were uplifted,
Mm-hmm.
or they felt any burden they had, it lightened.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the tendency to make people feel calm when they were already anxious. And so it's very necessary for people to remain where they are without thinking, I need to be more. I need to be more. I got to do more. I got to do this. Remain
Exactly.
where you are and allow yourself to just be.
Mm-hmm.
So that when people touch your presence, touch the presence that you are, they will
Mm-hmm.
be blessed and they will be helped.
Exactly. It's like they're trying to create an image uh,
Yeah, yeah.
where, and that's something, I just had that conversation the other day. Why so many people are so focused on trying to create this image from them for themselves. And so going back to what you said about we're in a time where, and we say this way, only where the strong shall survive. It's all about
Mhm.
survival.
Survival
And
of the fittest. Yeah.
exactly. And so it's not about the survival of the true self, it's the survival of the
Mhm.
false identity that we are struggling with. We're that ego is trying to fight for its existence. It want to continue in the path that is going. And so
And
it is trying
and
to
yeah, yeah, and superiority. Hmm.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. And so it's funny because it seems like everything that we're dealing with right now, it is coming from a place of fear. We are afraid of
Yes.
being different.
And that fear, and you're so right, because just this week, I think my practice has been to live beyond the fear. And I'm beginning to notice fear in different areas and aspects of this life.
Mhm,
And I've determined I'm not going to live by the fear. And because the fear is simply the mind predicting what it thinks may happen
mhm.
or not happen. It's
Hey,
the predictions of the mind.
mhm,
And so a lot of times we have fear around a lot of things. Some of us have fear around our money. We're afraid to spend. We'll I'm like this, and he knows this. He'll if he'll spend money, not foolishly, but he'll spend money on something. He'll spend as much money as he needs to, if he's got it, on what he really, really, really needs or wants.
mhm,
I'm more tightwad because of my conditioning. So I'll save, 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 because I feel more secure if I've got that stash.
mhm,
So it's different, and it causes conflict sometimes in people's relationships.
mhm.
But that fear-based holding on is what I've been dealing with this week.
Exactly.
That fear-based holding on, because it's the prediction of the mind that says something's going to happen, and you're not going to be prepared for it.
Mhm.
So it's important to live beyond the fear, even in your everyday personal life.
Exactly. And a lot of those who went to the polls to cast their votes in this midterm election, a lot of their vote was based off of
Fear.
fear.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, true. That's true. Let's see what Linda says. She says, I wonder if we change the way we see, things would change. If we change the way we see, things would change. What we focus on expands. That is the power of the I am. What if we see only love and brotherhood?
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
get what you're saying because and it's funny because that's why I know we all operate from the unimind.
The
Uh
unimind.
the unimind that
That's
one
a new one on me. Tell me what a unimind is.
y'all saw the movie Eternal?
Yeah, but that didn't
at,
stick. So.
at the end, they created
Mhm.
what they call a unimind, where they collectively came together, and the device had connected their thoughts, their mental power, in
Mm-hmm.
order to able to defeat Icarus and the emergence of the being that was trying to take over. And so unimind is that one consciousness that we
Okay.
are connected to.
Okay.
They use the word unimind. Y'all
All right.
forgot I'm a Marvel universe fanatic.
Yeah, we know. So go ahead. You were telling us about the Unimind. Now, what were you gonna say about that?
And so again, a lot of people when they don't when I mentioned about Unimind, when Linda put that up, see this is similar to conversations that I've been having with people throughout this week. And so that's when I said it's obvious that we're connected. It shouldn't surprise me that the same conversation that I'm having, she's also having, and it could be at the exact same times, different times of the week, but it's coming from the same place. And so when she stated, can you put that back up? What she said, I wonder if we change the way we see, things would change. And so I was sharing with someone that a lot of things that we're dealing with is an illusion.
Of course.
Illusion.
Most of what we're dealing with is
and so everything that we experience in this dimension, it is a result of something that was in somebody's imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we change what we imagine, then we would change what actually would manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, everything is created for somebody who's having an idea. So when she stated that, I thought about that. If we can change our perspective on things, if I could change the way I see, and you was talking about this dealing with when we talk about racism and all of that, if I could change the way I perceive you and not see that your difference is a threat to me, then things would change between us.
Mm-hmm.
And see, and that's what's happening. You don't know me, but because of my color or because of where I come from, you associate me as being a threat or a danger to you when you never got a chance to know me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love what scripture says, that we are never to know one another from the flesh. We are to know one another from the spirit.
Yeah.
And so that goes back again to our true identity. We all are spirit. We all are connected. We all have our beginning and our origin from the exact same place. But we're allowing the illusion of the superficial world, our flesh. I may be dark, but in all actuality, I'm light skinned.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I may be darker. You may have hair. I may not have hair. I was raised in a different location. You was raised. My culture is different. And we are afraid of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of understanding this has nothing to do with who we really are, that if we can go to the place again of not spirit, but go to the place of love, then guess what? No matter what, I don't care who you are, I love you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Exactly. That's good. Linda's quoting a scripture in Luke 8:18. And I think I read that. I think I didn't read it out of Luke, but I got it out of Matthew. But I'm going to go to it quickly because I know there was more to it than just that point. So I wanted to take a look at it.
Yep. Oh, that's funny because I talked about that the other day. Take heed therefore how ye hear, for whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken, even that which he seemeth to have.
Yeah. I want to read the whole passage for context. Start at the 16th verse. It's, no man, when he has lit a candle, covers it with a vessel, or puts it under a bed, but sets it on a candlestick, that they which enter in may see the light. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. Take heed, therefore, how you hear. That's it. Take heed how you hear. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and whosoever has not, from him shall be taken even that which he seems to have.
That's amazing, because isn't it amazing how what we hear affects what we see? I don't know if y'all ever seen the show. Is on Apple. It's SEE. And it's dealing with a culture. After that, I guess there was a war that broke out around the world, but the new inhabitants of the earth, they all were born blind.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they had to use their ability to hear and their other senses to survive. And they was building, they was doing a lot of great things. And then there were a remnant that actually had the ability to physically see, and they were considered to be witches.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
And so,
Mhm.
but to hear her bring that point up, it's true. We have to be careful who we allow to speak into our ears, because it does. It has an influence on how we perceive things. And again, that's what has happened in the midst of these elections here recently, because of all the rhetoric, because of all the lying, because of the vicious campaigning. And that's the
Mhm.
conversation that I had. I was sharing with a young lady, wouldn't it be a better uh, uh platform for election if we would just tell the truth and stop trying to come up with stuff to tear the other person down? Can we read a
Mhm.
clean campaign? And that is far gone. There is no one running a clean campaign. They're trying to find out
Mhm.
every bit of dirt on their opponent, not
Mhm.
realizing that you got dirt as well.
That's
But
it. That's
now
it.
we want to measure how dirty each other is and so forth. And we want to put it out there hoping that it would affect the perception
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people and we gain their votes. And it grieves me to see that, because I mean, even when the commercials come up, I'm like, okay, why y'all had to put that on the commercial?
I
Why y'all got
know.
to bring up somebody's past like you don't have a past, and now you want to use that as a tool to degrade them only for you to win.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's a crazy time. It's a
I
crazy.
wanted to speak to again what Linda's put up as well. And I want to go back to something I heard my husband teach me about years ago about siphoning gas. It's
Mhm,
the it's the siphoning, it's the siphoning system.
mhm,
Um, when you if you siphon gas, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if
Mhm.
you siphon gas out of a gas tank for some, let's just say you ran out of gas and you got to get it out of somebody else's tank because you couldn't make it to the service station, you have to start the flow by sucking it up right through that
mhm,
hose,
Get it started.
get it started until, and once it gets started, the inertia will keep it going. So I said that to say this. What Linda said was about people think that that statement in Luke 8:18 was cruel because it appears that it's taking away from people that don't have. It refers to the power of our thoughts. A rich man never thought poor thoughts. And what's happened is the siphoning system, once you start the process of once the process of inspiration starts, it's like it keeps going. It's an inertia, and that person who's now able to see and hear and understand the mysteries, they get even more
mhm,
because they see and understand. And so that's pretty much what it's talking about. So the more you see and understand the missed story or the mysteries, the more you will see and understand, and the more will be uncovered. And that's what that passage means when it talks about take heed how you hear, because nothing is hidden that won't be manifest. So that means when a person eyes come open, and I'm not talking about their physical eyes, when their spiritual eyes come open and their perceptions completely change. And that goes back to what Linda said before about if I could see differently, would things change? Yes. And
mhm,
so that means once you start to see, you can't unsee.
mhm,
Once you start to see through the illusion, you cannot unsee.
mhm,
But people who are blinded, they will not see. And there's another passage in Matthew where it talks about they have eyes but they don't see. They have ears but they can't hear.
mhm,
So it's like, and I mentioned this on a previous session that we did about two men that we saw in one of the restaurants when we were waiting for our sandwiches on order to come to for us to leave. They were sitting there having a conversation about near-death experiences, and completely debunking the whole thing,
Mhm.
saying none of it was real, none of it, and using scriptures out of context to verify and validate what they believed.
Exactly.
There was no way that they would receive the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like only the ones who will receive the truth will have even more truth. We forgot to unplug the phone.
Go ahead.
So I hope that makes sense. Linda, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
And Mom, not only does that make so much
Unplug it,
sense,
baby.
how is it that and I use this for and I use it and it is very powerful, it's very influential and so forth.
Yeah.
But I don't even just want to say the Bible. I want to talk about all sacred texts,
Yes. Yes.
all
Yes.
ancient sacred texts.
Yes. So because we shouldn't just restrict to just the Bible
Right,
or the
exactly.
Course in Miracles. It's not, it's every sacred text. Yeah.
Exactly. Because we come from all different regions and territories of the planet. All right.
Yes, we do.
And
Yes, we do.
everyone has had their own experience. Every culture, every ethnic group, every individual has had their own experience. So this is a collection of so-called accounts that individuals have had and they wrote it down. Now, mind you, we were not there.
Right.
We were not there. And so they are recording either an event that they experienced or something that they heard or witnessed.
And I have to add this, Pastor Norman.
Huh?
I have to add this as well, because a lot of the accounts were not written by the people that experienced it. It was
Exactly.
other people who wrote about what someone else told them or they had heard.
Exactly. And matter of fact, and it's funny that you said that because our first 5 books was written by Moses, all right, about people he never even met.
Mhm.
He quote unquote, according to what we have read, he had a time with God that God
Yeah.
spoke to him all these stories about individuals, Enoch, Methuselah, Melchizedek, all, and he wrote all of these events and he presented it to the children of Israel, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and they believed him, but they
Yeah.
were not there. They
Yeah.
believed him that he received this from God.
Yeah.
So now, and we're talking about, we say, and Paul writes this, that this right here is the inspired word of God. That's what we say.
That's what we say.
Do we know that to be true? You see, we're still yet assuming
Yeah.
that, and we say this is the only inspired word. This is it. Nothing. No, God ain't talked to no one else.
And
World.
you know you're killing sacred cows,
Oh,
though.
I know, but this is the place that we have to get to where we are asking the right questions.
Yeah.
What makes us right? What makes the Bible the only sacred text, the only true event that other people have and everybody else? Like when you said, the two men, they're saying that okay, they debunking near-death experiences where there's a records of several people having near-death experience. For example, the very book that scripture that they're using. What about Paul? When they stoned him, he had a near-death experience in the book of Acts.
Yeah.
And later it's recorded in 2 Corinthians chapter 12 when he makes the statement, I was caught up into the third heaven.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was in the body or out of the body. That came from his near-death experience.
And it's interesting that when those of us who have come to a place of seeing through the illusion and daring to take a look at things the way you just mentioned, it's interesting that once that happens, you can go back to that Bible and find everything about waking up.
Exactly. And so again, like Linda said, we have to be careful how we hear because And I encourage, like I said, I've been having a lot of conversation here lately from phone calls. I encourage people. I said, don't believe. I need you guys to understand. You're only spending a brief moment in what we call a worship service. We're having church and so forth. And you take what that person says from that platform, but you never dig deep enough to awaken, to expand your own consciousness. And so you're operating based off the word of someone else, based off of what they've been exposed to, and you have not been exposed to anything. So you are sleeping, which makes you, and which is a dangerous place, which it means that you're easily to be manipulated and controlled because you don't have your own mind.
You got church brain. That's
exactly
church brain. And Linda's been studying Neville, so Neville takes you completely out of the box. She says, we expand our thoughts to create our outer world. Our inside self makes our outside environment. And the truth is there's no inside and outside.
Exactly. All one, merge.
No inside and outside. I'll give you an example. In this room where we're sitting now, there's air. When outside in the yard, outside this room, there is air. The only thing that keeps this air from being that air is a wall. The illusion that this air is not that air. There is no inside outside. The barriers that we've set up, the labels that we've created, the labels and distinctions that we've created is what is causing this to seem like it's a separate thing. There's no inside or outside. What you are doesn't even reside in.
Exactly.
Or out.
Exactly. You just tapped into expanded consciousness.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
You also see the wall, but you are in expanded awareness. You with that, but what needed to happen right then is that you need to be talking. Let's say, God talk. And when you start talking, your identity switched, and you saw the truth.
I did.
About how that wall is there, but it is, you are an unlimited self.
And that bears witness to what we heard Rupert say, that it isn't the illusion that disappears. It's our ignorance of the truth that disappears.
If you wanted to, you could, in so many ways, you went into an out-of-body experience.
I did.
And awareness. You were standing outside looking at yourself in here. That comes natural. That's your natural God potential. Exactly. That's your natural, your normal nature.
And you're not paying me compliments.
No.
You're just making statements of truth. Yeah.
You are anywhere and you are everywhere. You are nowhere, and then you are where you are without any exceptional demonstrations. You are the wisdom without knowing, and the knowing without wisdom. You're the eyes, the feet, the nose, the mouth of God without any body part.
Yes. Exactly. We actually have no body. Well, we have a body, but we are not residing in any body part.
And that's why you can't find God by looking for him.
You can't. That's why the young man that I mentioned that was severed from the bottom, from the pelvic all the way down, he was only a trunk. His conscious of who he is didn't reside in any part of his body.
Exactly.
Yeah. It resided in neither place. And so even when we talk about unconsciousness, let's say a person goes unconscious, what we're actually saying, they lose the ability to use their five senses.
Exactly.
The senses go offline.
Exactly.
The five senses go offline. There is no experiencing.
Shut down.
Right. But who you are is still there and is consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's because consciousness doesn't die, and it doesn't have to have experience. And because we leave the body when the senses die.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
news has got Nancy Pelosi's husband, who was injured
Mhm.
through a violation of entering home, beat with a hammer,
Mm-hmm.
and he's recovering. But here's the punchline. Uh, Before he came to Earth, and before we projected ourselves here to hear this, that incident was Cain killing Abel. Now, this is not because of the political position that she or he stands in,
Right.
but here's what it is. He had to. I say this in humility. I don't know how you say humility.
Humility.
I say this in a small way.
You say this realizing the significance of what you're saying.
Yeah, he was. I don't like to say it, and it pushes the thermostat beyond. Yeah.
Just say it.
He had to go through that before he came. He rehearsed this. We talking about minute seconds, speed faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
We decided to come here and to get hit in the head with a hammer, and then talk about it on one side.
Mm-hmm.
We are so gaudiness. We are so gaudiness.
Yes, we are.
We are so gaudiness without ego. But ego is a ghost with a bad toothache.
A mean rascal.
But he's not real.
It's a ghost.
But this is something when you sit in the seat of fully accept the deep breath of God, and you'll find out that there is no place that you are not, and you are more in tune with these things now in awareness that it always been there. It's always been there. I had a policeman come to my house one time, and I had to call him because I went out to my truck and there was a lady sitting in my truck. I forgot to lock it. And I went out there and I looked, and she was sitting in my truck. I said, "What are you doing in my truck?" Now, she had a gun and anything, like she could have used it. But she was a disturbed mental person. I think she worked at the hospital. And
she was disoriented.
And she sat up in my truck. And I said, "You don't belong there. What are you doing in there?" So I went and called the police. They came out and they found out that her husband was looking for her. She was disoriented and got displaced in her identity. She didn't know where she was. This is what happens to all of us. But when you understand, I want to put this there because there is no other way we are going to be able to cope with these experiences like that in this dream world, except we fully receive ourselves as divine.
Yeah.
The divine and humane self together. God is, and inside of an evil man, God is, and every one of those people in DC, God is and was and will
the
be.
Man that hit Pelosi's husband in the head with a hammer.
God was in both of them, looking at himself get knocked upside the head with a hammer. I'm looking at this thing. I have a whole lot of things I want to say about who Jesus prayed to and who heard his prayer from what position. There is no way possible that you can remove God out of anything.
Can I read a scripture?
Yeah.
You mentioned we are so gaudiness. And there's a scripture that reminded me of when you said that. It's in 1 Timothy 3 and I'm going to read the 15th and 16th verse. Says, if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how thou ought to behave thyself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and ground of the truth. Now that's what the church really is. It's the pillar and the ground of the truth. And without controversy, this is the part that you make me think of. Without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest. Now listen to this. God was manifest in flesh, justified in spirit, seen of angels, preached unto Gentiles, believed on in the world, and received up into glory. God.
That's good. That's good.
God was
That's good.
manifest. God. And that's what's happening right now. That's happening right now. Because I asked the question, when was God justified in spirit? Justified meaning I had to go back and look at what I did and think about that thing and say, should I have done that? Should I have done that? God actually, and I heard Reverend Knight say this, God sent Jesus, the Father sent Jesus to redeem himself in man. The Father sent Jesus, the Son, to redeem himself in man.
Okay.
And can I read it out of the Amplified version?
Go right ahead, yeah.
I love this. And it says, and great, verse 16, the last verse of 1 Timothy 3 said, and great we confess is the mystery, the hidden truth of godliness.
Yes.
He, Jesus Christ, who was revealed in human flesh, was justified and vindicated in the spirit, seen by angels, preached among the nations, believed on in the world, taken up in glory.
Yeah, that's us.
That's it.
That's us. That's what God is. God is manifest as us.
Exactly.
God, us, came into this dream.
Oh my God, I just thought about something. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You got an aha?
I'll stop.
I just had an aha. Mon, you mentioned the word inspired. A word that is synonymous to the word inspired is inhale.
Yeah.
So what we inhale, it is actually that thing that is stimulating activity within our physical form. So if that be true, the air that I breathe, the air, that is spirit. So it is like you said, the same air that's in that room is the same air that's on the other side of that wall outside. So this even help us to understand that it has to be God. It is God breathing in us. We are inhaling more than just air. We're inhaling spirit. We're inhaling Him. And therefore, Christ is being manifested in our physical body.
Yeah.
It is Him that's keeping these bodies alive. It is Him that's revealing Himself through these bodies. Even though we are different in these physical bodies, within us, we all are inhaling the exact same thing that is it is God breathing in us, keeping us alive.
Yes,
while manifesting Himself.
And that God that we say is in us is the God that is us.
Exactly.
So we are keeping this alive.
Is at the moment that He chooses to leave these bodies.
Yeah.
That the body is no longer animated.
Exactly. I just had a remembrance of something. If you go to the grocery store now and you go to the frozen food section, they have, and even in the dairy section sometimes, they have these automatic lights. I don't know if you've seen them. The freezer sections are completely dark inside the freezer.
I used to be the frozen food manager at a grocery store, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
So the light, but as you approach that section, the light comes on.
Exactly.
And I want to throw this at you. What if there is nothing actually behind you, but it only appears when you appear?
Don't you make mine? Ooh, Jesus.
What if
About to pop.
what if right now there is nothing outside of the room that you're sitting in? That it is created there because you're there.
Mm-hmm.
What if when the scientists say that even when they, it's something about the atoms that they don't move in a certain direction until you think about that direction? And I might be saying that completely backwards, but it's like we are what's creating everything on the spot. Not I did it and it's over. It's being done as we live and breathe and speak. It's being done. I give you another example. When I was diagnosed with this vitiligo condition in my skin, in my body, I thought a person was a complexion because, and you might have heard me say this before, was a certain complexion because that was the melanin in their skin and it was just set like that. That's it. But melanin is created every second. Those cells are constantly making brown. And when they stop making brown, you get this color.
Wow.
So it's not that I'm just born brown and I'm brown. That's it. No, those cells are constantly making brown. It's a perpetual creating.
Wow.
A perpetual creating. So yes, we are creating, but it's not a creation and it's done. It's a perpetual creating. They said that the universe is expanding. It's expanding so fast they can't keep up with how fast it's going.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perpetual creating. So there's probably nothing outside of my vision here.
So I love what you just, because see that tells me that what you experienced, you just did not go through it without investigating and researching.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now, if everybody can understand what you just shared, I'm exposed to this version of you, what I can see. But this version of you is a result of something that's going on in the area I cannot see.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
would say it's the cell that creates that, melatonin and so forth. But if it stops,
Mm-hmm.
then it's no longer creating that.
The minute it stops,
Not exposed to that version of you.
yeah. The minute it stops, white appears. It's just that simple. The minute that cell stops making brown, white appears.
And then based off of, and I know there's another meaning of ignorance, but I have to use it for sake of understanding. And based off of ignorance, we make an assumption. We believe the assumption, which is a lie. And because we believe it so much, we see you in a different light and we form these prejudices against you, not even knowing what we are being exposed to is something that is a result of what we do not see.
Right.
But yet breathe the same air.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah. He's popping.
I am, because if I need the exact same air, and I'm just talking about the air, but I want them to understand I'm using it metaphorically, because in the same manner in which I need the exact same air to stay alive. Everyone, I don't care if you're black, white, Chinese, green, yellow, orange. It is the same air that's keeping me alive as well. So why am I so different than you are?
Yeah.
When we need the exact same thing to stay alive.
Yeah.
And so if we understand that, the same spirit, universal spirit, who we use the word God as an adjective, the divine being, the same way he's keeping me alive is the same way he's keeping you alive. And if we understand that, then we have to understand we all are connected.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are one.
We're so connected. Even now we're talking beyond body, but even if you go back to the body, all of us have the same body.
Exactly.
I'll give you an example. When they go to medical school, they don't study a white body versus a black body versus a Asian body. They don't. They just use cadavers no matter what color they are, because everybody is based on the same thing. And so everybody has the same systems, the same anatomy. There is no difference. So if they learn one body, they've learned everybody.
Mhm.
So even in the bodies, the physical body, we're the same.
Mhm.
There's no difference.
And then they seem to forget we are so wonderfully and marvelously made, because I do know this, the environments in different regions that we are birthed into, and we spend an extensive time there,
Mm-hmm.
our bodies has the ability to adapt and adjust.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that is also has a reasoning concerning skin color as well.
That in actuality, and I'm glad you said that, because Linda just brought up the question: is white the default color? Actually, black is the default color, because you can't be white and create black, but you can be black and create white.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
And in fact, if you go back and study history, and of course, some people have, they found that the whole human race came from a darker skinned race.
Hmm.
It just evolved over time based on climate change and all of that, and migration and all of that. So no, white isn't the default color. It's white is no color.
And so that takes us back to, again, fear. A lot of what we do, a lot of our perceptions, the way we react towards one another, it is based off of fear. And we
Yeah.
know that when we break down fear as using it as an acronym, it is false evidence appearing
Real.
real,
Mhm.
appearing real, which means
Mhm.
it is an illusion.
It is an illusion. It is, and that's why I when this condition hit this body, I had to redefine myself, because I realized I am neither white nor black. This is what the body's color is. I'm neither one. I'm neither one. I'm not. I don't have a color. I don't have a color. So for me to wholeheartedly identify with only one race would be ridiculous, because I have no color. My body has a color, and my body has been through certain things that people of color has experienced, but I have no color. They in actuality, so my job is to help them to see that they also have no color.
Exactly. Exactly. Mom, I'm popping because what difference does it, why do we have to present applications and documents and have a section that is entitled race,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
you have to check
mm-hmm.
if you're African American, Caucasian, or whatever?
I
What
know.
difference does that make?
We all look, we're all mixed up anyway. That's
Exactly.
why you're light skinned, because it's all mixed up anyway. Linda said I was just kidding about color. I figured you were. We are
Mhm.
no color. Yeah, I know you know better than that, Linda.
Yeah. And
Because we
we,
are no color.
exactly, there I mean, and it's funny when you say that, because there is a that scientific fact when we do with the lights, with the excuse me, the spectrum that they use.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, there's no color.
No
It
color.
is, it's when you divide that I'll say color of transparency. When you divide that by
Mhm.
using these different spectrums, now you get the different array of colors.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get the red, you get the green. We
Yeah.
learned that in school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you take bright light that has no color, and you put it through different divide, that's when you get the different colors.
So our perceptions are the filters that everything, or the lens that everything filters through. And that causes us to see different colors, to perceive people as different, but there in actuality no differences at all.
Wow.
And so it's and of course I know we kind of going off on another side here, but it's important that people begin to disidentify wholeheartedly as one race, because
Exactly.
we are all the human race.
Human race.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The family of God that's in earth. That's what the Bible calls it. The family of God in earth.
I didn't know that I was looking for somebody that I already was. I wanted to see Jesus, but I didn't know how close he was.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just fillers, words. You know, he made a statement when they came to get him in the garden to lock him up and put him in chains, whatever. In the garden, he said there was a lot of commotion going on, and he made the statement, said, "Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father,
Mm-hmm.
and he shall," uh, my eyes are crossing up, "he shall presently,
crossing up.
presently give me more than 12 legion of angels."
Mm-hmm.
And when he said angels, he said 12 legions of my personal identity as an angel. Angels are a description of our part of our divine self. Um, he said, I asked the question, who was he talking about when he said, I can at that time pray, ask the Father? And then, and I was going to talk about that today, but he said, me and the Father are one. I'm in him and he in me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did that prayer of oneness before they came to get him in the garden. What is so amazing is when you understand the transfer of consciousness as being the same as Jesus inside of him, and we can tell when the words slip up and come out that we didn't really, we're saying it out of a sleep, out of
Mm-hmm.
Jesus talked to himself
Mm-hmm.
when he talked to the Father. That he says, I and the Father are one. But if he's praying to the Father, how can he be one and pray to somebody like they're not a part of him? He tried that. He did that. It looks like that. The mystical side of all of us is that we cannot die because we were never born.
Exactly.
But we have experienced the illusion of birth and dying. I heard somebody say on with Red Mike, it said, dying is not the worst thing that could happen to a physical
It's
being.
not. Sometimes it's the best.
But you have to understand one thing.
Yes.
The physical identity. I saw this. The physical identity was in heaven before we came here. We met ourselves many times and many lifetimes before coming here into this story. There are many people right now that can go back and talk to you about who they were in some lifetimes, and then the mind says, I didn't know God. Yes, you did. You came from him. We all came from the same place. And I told somebody in the barbershop, I said, God didn't make me.
God is our origin.
I have always been what you say we made out of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this thing is serious because there are peepers, they are watchers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know
Bible
it.
Talks about watchers.
Yeah, we don't know it, but when we in our brick and mortar, there are some spirit beings that come into church and make us their classroom study.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Study us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they want to see.
That's scriptural.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't know nothing about that. But anyway, I don't know. I just we are absolutely each other 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But you'll come to the place where people will leave you because they know not who you are, they are. And one of the signs of enlightenment and waking up is separation. Separation revealing no more separation. Oneness means that there's two, and you'll understand the mystical side of all of it. But Jesus was talking to himself. When we pray, we don't really need to get on our knees. We don't need to. I've heard occasions where people have fell down before God and near-death experience, and he picked them back up and put them on their feet. And I didn't know that when Jesus appeared to me, I was appearing to myself. I didn't know that. I thought it was Sawyer and God, and everybody else was trying to find him. And that night that I come home, my undoing self was doing something that my physical self couldn't quite get. So here I am appearing to myself in the image of God.
Yeah, you mentioned, who did Jesus pray to? Where did the prayer come? Where did the prayer get
Where did it come
answered?
from? Where'd it go?
Where did Jesus direct his prayer and to what? But you remember, there's a scripture in Psalms where it says, David said, "Soul, why are you so
Why
cast
thou
down?"
cast down?
Yeah, why you cast
He
down
talked
my
to his
soul?
soul. He talked to his own soul.
I
He
know.
talked to his own soul about depression.
Exactly. And Dad, you said you don't know nothing about that, about the case studies, about the angels, the watchers and stuff. Was not Job a case study?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a case study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was. He really was.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
And then in Daniel 4:13, it says, "I saw in the vision of my head upon my bed," in my head, "and behold, a watcher and a holy one came down from heaven."
Stop going in and out of God and just stay as God in fullness and full awareness all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We go to church and get anointings. God came. We get out of church, the anointing lifted. God gone. But he's still with us in the social, but we don't want to talk about it until somebody say, "Praise the Lord." You don't have Jesus. You false rascal. Just leave it alone and go ahead on home and never leave this place.
Yeah. Now our time is up. We've had a great conversation.
Oh yes.
Great conversation. Linda?
Y'all can't see it, but my legs are going 100 miles per hour right now because there is so much more to be said.
I know we touched so many things today. Linda said, isn't it wonderful and glorious what we are? Yes, it is wonderful and glorious what we are. I tell you, and discovering ourselves has been really something, as you would say, something to tell the captain.
I can tell between each service some years ago, we would go to church on Sunday morning, and then this is the mystical thing, and I'm going to say to you, but this what happened to me in those primary days. I know I studied how those evangelicals, healing preachers, in between each service, a lot of times, which all of them didn't, they would have a burden and they would go into their closet and pray. And what they would do is they found the technical side of grief and brokenness. And the ones that started out, they don't end up like they start out, but they were faithful. A lot of them are faithful to the intercession and the venting, import and exporting of the grief and burden of the creature being made subject to vanity unwillingly. In Romans, it talks about that. That means all these things that hurt create cuts and scars in the soul. And what we should do is enter into, and that day you go into your closet, and I had to learn how to push myself from inside of my body out through those broken feelings.
Riding on the burden.
Yeah, I had to learn how to use pain and hurt as a catalyst to ride on as a kabar. What that riding thing?
Merkabah.
The Mekabar, which is the chariot of God.
Merkabah.
The chariot of God is your emotions and feelings that you ride on.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to ride on. So what I would do in between service, I would enter into the place where the first service caused me to have this thing. When I got through preaching or ministering, I didn't say what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
And
a sense of unfulfillment.
I could have said this. That's grief and pain. Creature made subject to vanity. I wanted to get it out, but I couldn't. It was a block. So what I do, I found the mother lode in the closet, the place where all gold comes from. And what I would do, I go in there, I deliberately made sounds and vibrational sound with my vocal cord box that would somewhat be used to touch that place inside my soul.
Inaudible sound.
And that's what taught me, showed us how to understand dog communication. Mm-hmm. They bark, but inside they bark. The Lord revealed to us how to translate that ability that they are. And that's why dogs can go to different parts of the country and be trained. Mm-hmm. And what I've spent time doing in the years is I wanted to hear, I wanted to see, and I wanted to feel what.
And you wanted to be free from the burden.
From the burden. So I had to pay a price, and the price that was being paid with, I didn't know was done by spirit mm-hmm. identity. So we came here to define the burdens that would cause us to enter in to broken intercession, interceding in between those thoughts. We have to find the unction of what God is saying in those feelings. And it will spin you. When I say spin, it will burn you. Mm-hmm. And it would burn. And at that moment, I would go there. And when the service came around, I found out a lot of times that I was travailing for a certain person that's going to be there that I needed to minister to. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find out who it was until after I did the necessary preparations for my spirit to come out.
Yeah. And now there's the mm-hmm. scripture what you were practicing mm-hmm. is what you had read from a scripture mm-hmm. and had studied mm-hmm. about how to pray mm-hmm. in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And
spirit.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
in 1 Corinthians 14, it says, follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, and rather that you may prophesy. For he that speaks in an unknown tongue mm-hmm. speaks not unto men, but unto God. For no man understands him, howbeit in the spirit he speaks mysteries. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't so much to go in there and get something from God, mm-hmm. but going in there and using a bypass system. So you're mm-hmm. not using your mind to pray. You're using inaudible sounds in order to bring the mysteries up out of you.
There's a want to and a not want to part of the psychological side of our emotions. And it will, after a certain while, spinning yourself means I'm going to put myself in a deliberate position mm-hmm. to have to deal with these griefs. And that's what happened to me that morning when Jesus came in the room. He didn't leave. I didn't lose him, but I hadn't finished. There's something in you that says, I'm hurting, I'm pain. And the pain body's there. I got to get this thing. I got to break it down and fix it so it can
got to process
go
it
through that process like food digestion. The spirit is digested into these burdens and griefs. We're speaking something that if nobody ever introduced you to this, you'll never find it. And this is the grace of God to speak this to you, to all of you. Mama said, my baby is crying and I can't find out why she crying. Shantana bowels was locked up and I didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do to get him free. So I went into travail. When I did, I put it on my chest and I fell back on the bed, and instantly opening was cut through my soul to see the oil that was administered to the baby, and the baby got freedom.
Yeah.
Now, for those of us who are in the course and in the biblical, skibblical, the religious, the brick and mortar,
paper Bible saying,
paper Bible, yeah. This that I'm telling you is, what's his name? Used to be on here with us, but anyway, if you're going to do these travailing moments, you'll have to forget about preserving yourself and preserving your emotions. You're going to use everything possible to come out of the tomb. These bodies are encased, us into a certain area and said, this is where you're going to stay.
They're death tombs.
But I found out how to get out of my body by riding on the Mecca ball, which is those feelings that are inside. And I find out how to ease through the fine hairline fractures of the soul.
So this body is either a tomb or a womb.
Yeah.
But not only that, if we think about Jesus and what he did and what he was able to accomplish, he one of the things that we have to identify, we keep talking about he came and saved us from sin, and that's not what he came to do. He came to save us from our false identities. Through his journey, that the body does not limit us.
Yes.
He proved that in all that we studied concerning him, that he was able to even raise the body back, even though it was considered a glorified body, but he was able to raise that body up from the grave. And so he showed us that in spite of us being spirit and we are living in these tombs, temples, whatever, it is a lie that it limits us. And so it's a false identity, the ego that keeps lying to us, was causing us to operate in limitation, where Jesus came and showed us how we can function and operate without any limits.
Yeah. Well, and as if I reside behind my eyeballs, I'm limited. Hear me? If I live behind my eyeballs, I'm limited. If I live in any part of my body, I am limited. If I live in any object, I'm limited. Therefore, I choose not to live in any, because all appears in me.
Exactly.
Our bodies are keys that unlock the doors to the spirit world.
Yeah.
If we understand the infirmity.
Yeah.
The infirmity, the definition of infirmity, something that's been imposed upon me beyond a human limitation, that reveals to me that there is something on the other side of the limitation that I must.
It's weaknesses that I haven't been able to get past.
Yeah, I can't get past. It's an impasse. Impasses are feelings like, I don't want to meditate today. Impasses, I don't want to do this. I just don't feel like. Impasses are, what's the use doing it? Impasse, I don't do that. But you got to. That's part of the impasse that you are designed to strengthen. See, you don't get your muscles big in the gym working out in bodybuilding without bringing the weight up there. You got to put some weight on the end of that thing.
Okay, so you watched my message last night.
No, I did. Yeah. But
we preached your message last night.
Yeah,
I talked about the resistance of weights.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we are now operating and doing surgery. I have to have a hearing problem in order to pay attention to who's talking to me, because if I could hear well without that situation, I would not pay God any more attention. So I have to pay more attention to him now in people than I used to.
Yeah, you have to listen more intently.
I have to listen more intently to him speaking out of people. Hey, he said, you asked me to show you me and everybody, so I am. So all of a sudden you can't hear good. I want you to know that that's not you not hearing because you don't have any problem hearing, but you designed it like this so that you can put more attention on myself and other people when they speak to you about mundane things that does not seem like it's me talking. You hear, you can hear okay. You can hear well because we are the presence of God inside and out. So I look at you in people, and now I see you. You sound different than everybody, but you're still the same.
Oh, yeah, we got to stop. We're going way over. But look, it's been so good. It's so good.
It's been good.
Very good, good. Hey, Ollie, you there all the time and didn't let us know. He said, he said, of course, the miracle says that when the mind is healed, the body becomes a healthy, serviceable instrument that serves to fulfill our earthly function. Yeah, yeah. And I think based on what you just said, anytime the body has a limitation, to use it to further expand.
Exactly.
Use that limitation to further expand.
Let me tell you something right quick. I was looking for one of the toys that baby girl, my dog, play with, and we couldn't find it. I thought I blew it up in the leaves out there. And
we looked everywhere. She looked everywhere.
So here comes the leaf truck. Both of them coming along. We got leaves piled on the side of the street out there. And I'm sitting in the front room. And all of a sudden I had desire. I wanted to look at them as they sucked the leaves up in the truck. And I said, why would they have two? Well, this front truck was getting the big piles of them. The truck behind me getting the little bitty ones on the side. And I'm looking out the front door, and Spirit said, as me, go out the door, open the door and go on out. So I didn't hear a voice so much, but I just knew I did it. So when I went out the door went out. None do it. Yeah. And I went out and I looked out there in the yard. I said, what is that red laying out there in the yard on the leaves? I could see under the leaves. And I looked out there and I said, what is that? I didn't want to go out there. It was kind of nice out there, but at the same time, I didn't want to go out there. So I went down the steps. And as close as I got, there it was. We've been looking for that thing for 2 or 3 days.
Little girl couldn't find it. We even bought her another one. She squeaked that thing on.
And I always say, when something like that can, I thank myself. I give my God identity gratitude because that's where it comes from inside of us as us. Now.
Wow, guys, we could go on and on and on, but we won't. We will not. We enjoy talking to you guys, and more than anything, we enjoy just having this conversation with each other.
There will be a time when we'll talk more about our past reincarnations.
Oh. Okay. I remember some of them.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember some of them.
Thank you guys out there for the opportunity of allowing yourself as the Christ to talk to the Christ through these devices. I saw a little critter,
little flying creature.
Yeah, he wanted to come in my mouth. But
I saw a lady talk so much that a fly flew in her mouth. Ooh. She swallowed it. She swallowed it. And we'll end on that note.
You know what? Hey, in the old days when a kid in the family started stuttering when they talk, they said they take the dish rag and slap them in the mouth.
Well, that's all you got to do is break the state.
Yeah, you slap them out with a dish rag.
That's crazy. Thank you, Ollie. We love you, man. We love you.
We got to go.
Yeah, we're getting ready to take off here.
I appreciate you and thank you so much. We'll talk again. That emergency, that call that I got, I had to go to it, but I got another emergency call to go to now. So I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
Y'all have a good one.
Bye.